Welcome back to Binging with Brandon. If you are still tuning in, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you being here episode after episode. And if you're new here, then welcome. What we do here is we sit down, watch a movie, we eat a meal that ties into the movie, and then me and my special guest, whoever it is that week, break down the movie. We talk about the food, and we just try to have a good time. So before we talk about the movie that we're going to be watching, I just want to acknowledge again that the WGA, SAG-AFTRA, and the actors are currently striking. What they're striking for is fair compensation. Currently, actors do not receive fair compensation when it comes to streaming specifically. When it comes to streaming, they're not getting royalties. Think about like music and how music celebrities get a percentage per stream. Currently, there is no gauge on streams for streaming networks like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. You can't go to those sites and see how many times something has been viewed, and that information is also not available to the actors or the writers. So, with that being said, they don't know what fair compensation would look like, but they can tell that it's not anywhere near what they were making when network TV was the most prevalent thing that you could watch TV on. The compensation that they were making then is nothing. Is what they're making now is nothing compared to what they were making then. And you got a broader audience now, so I think without it goes without saying that they should be definitely making more money. And I also want to acknowledge that it's specifically the people like you and me that we do this type of thing when we can, but we still have to work. And a lot of these actors that you see, like it's not the Jennifer Anistons or the Angelina Jolies or Brad Pitts that we're striking for. It's the people that you see that's like the mom or the sister or the aunt that shows up in a couple of episodes in the series and not following the main cast. It's the janitor or the teacher that you see on the series. It's the background actors that you see on the series. These people they barely make what's required to get their insurance through SAG-AFTRA. So that's why they're striking. Also, when it comes to just entertainment in general, it's important to pay your entertainers because I know people say, well, that's what they decided to do with their lives. Exactly, but we need it. We want that. Like if there was no entertainment, we would live a boring life. So I definitely agree with everything that they're asking for. Additionally, coming back to background actors, companies are fighting for background actors to be used once. And what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to scan their full likeness. So from head to toe scan, facial features, a range of emotions. And some of these companies have already done it without their consent. They didn't realize what they were scanning for. But they are trying to get that broad range of emotion and that full body scan so they can use AI to put these people in the background of the movies and the shows and not have to pay them. A lot of background actors get their start as an actor, like big celebrities were background actors to begin with. If we don't have background actors, we don't have a future. We don't have there will be no future actors. I seen an interview that was talking about um, I think it was like on a morning show. I wish I could remember which one it came from, but they were talking about how soon you could subscribe to a celebrity and build your own movie on their likeness. I talked about this on the last episode as well, but if you've seen the latest season of Black Mirror, you know Joan is awful. The episode shows how wrong that could be and how many ways things could be if you could use someone's likeness and create your own, it may not align with the values of the person that's face is being planted on whatever the Joe Schmo could come up with. You can use your imagination. But what they're wanting to do with that AI is pay the person for 1 days of work, which equates to about $200, and then they can use their likeness for all of eternity. And I just don't feel like that is something that any company should have the ability to do. But with that being said, moving forward, we will only be reviewing movies or TV shows that are being filmed by independent companies that currently have shown that they can meet the demands of the actors and the writers. And a lot of the big companies are saying what they need is unreasonable, but these independent companies have shown that they can meet the requirements without, without losing revenue and without having to make compromises or go against what they're asking for. So we are only going to be doing that. I won't even be going to older movies like on the last episode, even though that is a 20-year-old movie. It still potentially drives the listener to the streaming network that the actors and the writers are currently on striking. So on today's episode, we will be watching The Inspection. The Inspection is a film from A24, and it's based on a true story. It's about a young gay black man who is rejected by his mother. He decides to join the Marines, and he ends up finding support in a new community that ends up changing his life forever. None of us have seen this movie, so we're all going into it blind. We decided to go with this one because it is an A24 film, and A24 is currently not a company that is struck, and it's independent, and currently they are supporting SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild in their demands, so it is a safe film for us to cover. So I had an idea to start potentially telling you guys the ingredients and the process of cooking the food that we eat on the podcast. If that's something that you think might be interesting, I'd love to hear the feedback. Message me about it on Instagram or Twitter and tell me what you think. Or maybe even just kind of us in the kitchen, that whole process of just, cooking the food, because sometimes the conversations in the kitchen can be very interesting. But let me know what you think. It was not easy finding a meal to go with this movie because there's nothing online that I could find that mentions food in this movie in the same sentence. So I'm not sure if there is a particular meal that's eaten in this movie or a food that's mentioned that we could have incorporated any better. But to give you a breakdown of why we chose what we chose today, this movie is about Marines. So when you think about our soldiers, you think about them coming home. And when you think about coming home, you think of just a nice home cooked meal. So that's what we're doing today, a home cooked meal. It's going to be a surf and turf. We're doing baked chicken. We're doing fried fish, a macaroni and cheese, and a broccoli casserole. All of it homemade, all of it from scratch. So it's going to be delicious. So today I have two very special guests with me. My good friends Rae and Sivon are here to watch this wonderful movie with us. Rae, how long have you guys been married?
We've been married 3 years. Yes, 3 years. January of this year. Together for 4.
Together for 4. And what does it feel like to be married compared to a relationship?
Oh, it feels more safe. Um, you don't have that looming feeling of, are we gonna break up? It's more final when you're married. I feel like.
Okay. So there's that definite feeling that you get from
Yes, absolutely.
marriage. Okay.
And I appreciate that a lot.
So, we met at the same place you guys met, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, if you have any advice for marriage, what would you tell the listeners?
Like the old people say, never go to bed, man.
Never go to bed, man. We never stay angry with each other. We always talk about whatever we're feeling, whether we're uncomfortable or irritated or frustrated about something. But yeah, we're never mad at each other for a long time.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So, we just got finished watching the movie,
The Inspection.
The Inspection. Thank you, because I kept forgetting that. I kept wanting to say The Invitation for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Every time
That is
Another good movie.
It's
a very good movie.
So, and none of us have seen the movie, right?
Mm-mm.
This was
First time.
all of our first time.
First time, yes.
So, before we talk about the movie, I like to ask everybody about the meal. What did y'all think?
The meal was
Oh my
really
God.
good.
So good.
I really enjoyed the meal.
The chicken was seasoned to perfection.
Perfection. And I know you feel like you overcooked the mac and cheese, but it still had a really good taste to it. So
Okay.
it was pretty good.
Yes. Thank you.
I thought it was good. Doing the surf and turf is tough because
Yes, it is.
your protein is like the heart of your meal. And if you mess up your protein,
You
and
don't
it-
have a meal.
you don't have a meal. And so
Right.
having 2 proteins was weird. But I'll tell you, being able to deep fry it in that pot,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that made the fish great. And I was actually kind of intimidated by the perch because the fillets were thick.
Mm-hmm. They were very thick.
But it was perfect.
Yeah.
It went well. It was perfect. Macaroni and cheese was good. It had a good flavor, despite what the top looked like.
Yeah.
It still looked good.
Yeah.
So,
And honestly,
you know.
the crunch was actually kind of good.
I
The little-
appreciated the crunch. Yes, I
the
did
little
appreciate the
crunch
Yeah.
cheese, that was
Yeah.
actually kind of good. So, I mentioned earlier on the podcast, why we chose the meal that we chose, and it's basically a home cooked meal because it makes you feel like home. And good thing, because watching the movie, it doesn't look like they really ate anything that I could have tied this to. So,
And
Or
if
like
it-
he had a good home to go to.
right.
Right.
He would have lived.
he would have loved this meal.
absolutely.
So that's why we did it. And just starting with the movie. So when this movie first started, we're introduced to the main character, and it looks like he's like in the subway of New York or something. Living, like, you can tell he's obviously homeless. He's got a couple of friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, he definitely looked like life has lived him,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not living life.
Yeah, I
Right.
noticed that about him.
Yes.
And we're introduced to the fact that he's going to be going to the military, or in his case, the Marines, by his he needed his birth certificate to get to his mom, or he went to his mom to get his birth certificate. And we're introduced to Gabrielle Union's character in this movie. What do y'all think about her?
So let me just say, because I was thinking this throughout the entire movie, I do love Gabrielle Union, but what I will say is that she has the tendency to play the same character in a lot of her movies. However, with this movie, I was very pleased that I seen something different from her, and she executed it very well.
I
will
agree.
say.
Yes, I definitely agree with that because, like you said, you do see her like she's pretty much the same character. She's typecasted.
Right. Right. But with this one, it was a different light, and I really do like her at this light. I really want to play more dramatic roles like this.
Yeah, I could see her doing some more stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, only so much of that can be attributed to the actor or the actress because, like anything, you interview for a job to get the job.
Right.
If your experience shows that you're good at this particular job, chances are it's going to be a lot easier for you to get into that particular job.
Yes.
So I can only fault her so much for that. But I did listen to a podcast on Gabrielle Union, and I know that she's had an interesting relationship with LGBTQIA plus whatever. And she had a friend in high school that came out to her as being gay. She didn't handle it very well. I know that she has a stepchild that is a trans daughter. So, I know that had to be something that was kind of taxing on the mind to play, given her relationship with gay people. So I thought she portrayed it like exceptionally well, given all of that.
Yeah, I definitely thought about Zaya in this. Like how would her reaction to seeing her stepmom play this type of role would have been? That'd be interesting to hear, to see. Because I'm sure, like you said, it was taxing to try to pretend like you would disown a child for being gay when you have one at home. That it falls under that.
And she's been so vocal about gay rights.
But it's crazy because even though her character is very dismissive of her child's truth, authenticity, I wouldn't say that she disowned him. It was more so as she was very dismissive of his reality, and kind of came across as disgusted with him.
Yeah,
more so than just I don't want nothing to do with you. It's like you can be around, but I'm going to let you know I think you're disgusting. Yeah. That's what came across the most for me.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say I agree. I think what was lacking is the why, and that's probably why Rotten Tomatoes, like, they give it an 88.
Because we don't know the history of it.
Because they were saying, it kind of lacked depth in that aspect of why. And I feel like if we were to discover why or what happened, what was the point of her disgust, I think that would have added a lot of depth, because I'm pretty sure there's some story connected to why she was so disgusted.
Yeah, and you know what? I can really appreciate us not knowing what it was, only because it takes a really great actor to portray something and make the audience feel like there's something deeper to this than you know.
Yeah.
To be able to express that without ever letting us know what that is.
Right.
That's phenomenal acting, in my opinion.
They had so many dimensions to her character.
Exactly.
Like,
without even having to go into the details. That's true.
I thought it was crazy, too, that she played not only a role that kind of went against her beliefs, but against her personality. We all know Gabrielle Union is beautiful skin, beautiful hair, stylish all the time. The queen of, like, swag, and all things modern, progressive thinking. And her in this little apartment with her hair braided up and smoking these cigarettes. And I was just saying to myself, I was like, oh my God, that's Gabrielle Union.
Yeah.
The whole time I was just like, that's Gabrielle Union acting like this. And I was very much impressed with just her emotional range and how she was able to channel this woman.
Miss
I thought it was
Inez.
incredible. Yes.
Miss Inez.
I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Movies like this come out. I never knew about this movie, and I'm not going to read the awards, but there's a list of awards that is long as my arm.
Oh wow!
That this movie was nominated for.
Yeah, I do remember when it was coming out. I did see the trailer, and I did hear the buzz on social media and things like that, because Jeremy Pope is a great up and coming actor, and this was one of the movies I was like, okay, this is really good for him. But to actually see it, it was really a great movie.
It really was a good movie. I normally don't lean towards like army movies, but this was a good deviation from what those typically are.
Exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't like a jarhead movie, but
Right.
it definitely had a militarized theme.
Yeah.
And then it gives like a good representation of that don't ask, don't tell policy in the Army. So it really gave you a glimpse into that, which I don't remember ever seeing any representation on television or movies. But this was a good look into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So once we are introduced to Gabrielle Union's character, we're then transitioned into his state, like his start into this whole journey, and we see how rough and tough it actually is. And all of us were joking while we're watching it, like, couldn't be me, because
Right.
it's intense.
It's very intense, yes. And one thing that we noticed right away was his mannerisms were very effeminate. So it was just like, there's no cutting around the fact that he's gay.
Right.
Like, that's something that we could tell right off the bat.
Which I don't know his sexuality, the actor in real life, but he definitely portrayed that. Like, it came across on screen, which is one of those things that's really hard to tell, and I've struggled with that in life. Like, well, goddamn, how do people just always know I'm gay? What if I wanted to be DM? What if I wanted some mystery?
Some of us cannot get away with having mystery when it comes to our sexuality. It's
right.
just,
Yeah.
people
There's
know.
no mystery.
You know, I've noticed that too, like, especially working in my field, my job field. If I'm ever in a new environment, it takes people months.
I can see that.
To realize that I'm gay. And it's so funny because I always said, with me being gay, that's more to do with me and my personal life as opposed to my life and the outside world. That's a me thing. But I'm understanding that there's a lot of work to do with the dynamic of LGBTQ people and individuals who may not necessarily interact with LGBTQ people or openly LGBTQ people.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow, you know, I saw a couple of things in there, like with his commanding officer. And I was like, if this was a movie, and I was sitting in my mind trying to think of like who, if I could apply this movie to my life, I would probably be that officer that was, you know, in the shower.
Right.
Like these people know that I'm gay, and you know it. You know, and so they're not saying anything, but anytime there's a problem with you, I'm the one that comes to comfort you. I'm the one that they send to come comfort you because there's something that they know. It's just you're so obviously gay, and then with me, there's a question because I don't talk about it.
Okay, raising my hand for those who can't see. So I want to say this because when you look at it, you may think that the
The commanding officer. I don't know what you would call him either.
You would think that he was gay or queer or figuring things out, DL. You would think that, but honestly and truly, I do not believe that. Only because when he said something about it, he was just like, there are going to be people of your kind here that they've been here before you. They're going to come after you, and I have to. My job is to make a Marine. Gay, straight, black, white, don't matter.
Yeah, he was like that.
So I think he took it upon himself to really be that person for him, knowing that he wouldn't have a lot of allies on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily think that he was gay. I just think that he was really looking out for him.
Right. And we have to remember it's being told from his perspective. So the way he's perceiving all of these things happening, he thinks he is gay. And he's leading us as the viewer to believe that he is gay because he thinks he was at this time.
Right.
Which is why he ended up coming on to him and
exactly.
Right.
But it's just that this person is really going out of his way to look out for me. Maybe there is something there. And maybe he was wanting something to be there because, I mean, that's just natural to want to feel wanted by somebody, especially in this situation where you're being outcasted for being gay.
Right.
So you're looking for that companionship. So yeah. But I don't personally believe that he was gay. I just think he was really looking out for him.
Yeah.
And then too, he was young.
Yes, he was young.
Because I don't care. I've been in the showers, and I mean, at my age or whatever, you know, you see people, and you know, if you're in the showers at the gym or the locker room or whatever, but his immediate response, he got turned on, and it caused this whole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was really for me like the turning point of, oh wow, these people will hurt him. Prior to that, I was like, you know, they're gonna make his life a living hell. But when he couldn't help it,
right,
that was when it was like, oh no.
Yeah, that kind of caught me by surprise that they reacted the way that they did over him getting a hard on in the shower, because it's just like
it's natural.
It's
natural. It happens all the time.
And it's like these men are away from women interaction, any kind of romantic interaction, so they're not having sex.
Right. So it's not far fetched to believe
that they would get hard in the shower. That's not something to like.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they reacted the way that they did, it was really like, really? Stop it.
And at that moment, I didn't really think that when it initially started, it was like, man, get out of here type of shit. But it was when the leader got upset about the situation that the mob mentality then ensued.
Yeah.
And everybody had to then put on their hyper masculinity because the commander is upset.
Don't get me started on that leader.
Oh yeah.
Because he was messy.
Messy.
He was so messy.
Tried to. Huh.
I get the intent behind what he was doing. I just feel like his delivery. I feel like, which just like you said, we don't know everything with the actor, and it's a great acting to make you think deeper. I think there was something deeper with him. I think he was. I potentially think he was actually gay, and he's like, this is the only way you're gonna make it in this. Is if I'm hard on you as they was on me.
Right. Because if you look at the overall movie, towards the end of the movie, there was more of a understanding amongst everyone, and it was more so like you're a part of my my crew. So, gay or straight,
right?
We got to fight for each other. You kind of had that mentality towards the end of the movie, so it made me feel like, okay, so all of that. Tough treatment that they were giving him, was it really to really make him a better Marine, make him understand that we're not going to go easy on you just because we know that you're gay. So it was different things that I was thinking as to why that kind of treatment was taken. Not to say that it was fair, not to justify it at all.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that treatment was harsh and inhumane.
Yeah.
But I do.
Oh Jesus!
But I do feel like their intent was not to 100%
push him out.
Push him out or make him feel different. It was really just to push him to let him know this is serious.
Yeah.
This is not for play.
So I thought about the scene where they were suited up and they were doing the combat with the I don't know what you call them, but they were fighting. And
oh yeah, the sock and opera things. Yeah.
He goes down, and then after he goes down, the guy takes his mask off and says, "Stay down." He then gets up, he takes his mask off, and he beats his motherfucking ass. When he did that, nobody flinched, and it showed two actors, including the commanding officer and one other person. They smirked.
Yeah.
They're like
in
he's
pleasure.
ready.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Right.
what
That's
like,
what
he's
that
ready.
was.
Yes.
He's not gonna take no shit.
Right.
That's what that was.
And then two, they like the way he was beating him up. You know, it was. It to me, I felt like it was a very true depiction of this type of character, his personality, his mannerisms, and how he would fight. Keep in mind, this guy did not have a mother. And one of the most important developmental times in his life, that's 16 to 25. So my mind goes to 16 to 25 and how my mom was. She was not being super sweet with me. She was like, deal with it. Suck it up. This is what a man does. Okay, well, you trying to be a man, right? She would say that type of stuff. Okay, well, this is what a man do. And she was tough. She was just tough with me. And she's still that way with me now. Like, she's even tougher with me now. You know, it's hard to get that hug me. Oh, I love you, mommy. You know, that mother-son dynamic that I remember when I was younger. But that's part of that. And then there's no God there. Of course, there's no dad either.
Right.
So not having those two influences in his life and him saying I go on the street, he's going to, of course, link up with individuals that compliment him and that they may not necessarily push him to be tough and strong and confident in that way, but they will help him survive, because that seems to be the theme of the movie, is survival.
Right.
And so I feel like partially that's kind of what it is. I thought about frat hazing. And it's like you come in here and you're so against the grain of the type of person we might want. Yeah. And so we got to give it to you worse than we would give it to other people.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of other people getting it, I also believe that this is all perspective too. So, I mean, if the movie would have been about the Middle Eastern guy, we probably would have seen he had it just as tough, or if not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's perspective. And speaking of the other characters, there's just a couple that I want to talk about, because I liked that. I don't even know what his name is, but the guy that stood up and was like, I'm not pointing my gun at him.
Yes.
I loved him.
Yeah. How much courage that must have taken to say that with all the people you entered basic training with, and then the people that are already in charge of y'all, to be like, no, I'm not doing this. This goes against the fundamental beliefs that y'all taught us. What in the world?
And that's what made it, I feel like that's what made it easy for him to stand up, because it's easy to stand up when you notice that somebody's being a hypocrite. Right. It's just like, you're making me do something that you told me we can't do. Right. So it's easier to,
when you have something to back it.
Exactly. And he had that. And so I really do feel like that's what made him really open his mouth.
Well, I remember the quote, so I'm going to try to do it. He said, "Sir, this recruit refuses to train."
Yeah.
He said, "What?" He said, "This recruit." And then he didn't say nothing else. And he was like, "Why?" And then he said, "You told us not to pretend to shoot. Don't aim unless we intend
at a fellow,
to shoot,
and then
and don't
never
aim
point your gun at a fellow Marine."
And the whole point was, this might be the type of person. This is what the person is going to look like,
right?
And I was like, whoa.
But they gave us a little bit of that in him in the swimming pool scene, too, because he wanted to step forward and say something then, but like you said, there was just nothing that he could really lean on to justify going forward,
because he was confused. He didn't know if this is what's supposed to happen.
Right.
Are they just doing this to pick on him? He didn't know.
Yeah.
So, but you could tell that he was very uncomfortable with what was going on.
Yeah.
And if this is based off a true story, I'm wondering how many of these practices are legal, how many of these practices or training practices are actually still done. Because from fort to fort, or base to base, or training ground to training ground, it differentiates.
Right.
And knowing someone who's in the military, one of my good friends is in the military, and one of the things I remember him saying was, I saw some things and experienced some things, and he was like, if I was to open up my mouth and say something, everybody would get in trouble. And I just didn't want to do it because I didn't want the trouble that came with it.
And how many of those are lethal? I mean, we saw him.
He had to be
revived.
Yeah.
If they just would have left him there, or just would have took him out the water, he would have been dead.
I do feel like that one was just a little too excessive.
Yeah,
it might have been true though.
Yeah, I believe it's true. I mean, all of this is based on a true story.
CPR?
And of all the basic trainings, I'm sure that's happened more than once or twice.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Of course, we wouldn't know about it.
We wouldn't
in the
know.
general public.
And I thank everyone who goes through that terrible, awful experience and, defends our country and gives us the opportunity to sit here in peace and to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
I'm just getting up on draft age, so it don't matter much to me.
Well, how old do you have to be drafted?
I think 35 is the cutoff, so.
Oh, thank you, God.
I got right.
Oh,
I got
thank
like
the
4
Lord.
years and counting.
Well, wait, you said 40?
4.
No, 4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Come on.
I was like, I'm right at the
I wish I
cutoff.
still needed somebody else I did a drink.
Look, 35, thank you, God. I'm over the hill. You ain't drafted me.
Right.
I'll
The
teach
shit
y'all
will really have to pop off
while
real
y'all are
bad.
overseas fighting. I'll be dealing with y'all children, which is just as lethal. Go ahead, babe. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So, we get to the epic, like you said, the epic fight at the end, and that was really just kind of like the point where we realized that he's going to be okay. And then, it transitions to the graduation where we're basically the second time we're seeing the mom. So we're seeing her just about as much as he's seen her.
Yes.
And so I wanted to just kind of dive in a little bit about this mother-son relationship that we have going on here.
So, I'll say this. It's very apparent that one of the reasons why he makes the decision to join the Marines is because he's trying to, I feel like, do something for his mother. Because it's obvious that he wants to have a relationship with her. He knows how she feels about him being gay. And it just seemed like he was doing this. I did feel like he was doing this for himself in some way, but I also felt like he was doing this to make his mother proud, give her something to be proud of, because he was really adamant on her showing up to the graduation. And even when she showed up and seemed so proud of him in the beginning, and then to find out, oh, you thought this made me straight. Okay.
That was the
It didn't make me straight. And he reiterated, I'll still want to have I'm not going to give up on our relationship.
Right.
But I'm still gay. So I do feel like a lot of his decision to join the Marines was to, in fact, make his mother, give her something to be proud of.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I do think she was proud. I think, like I said, it goes deeper. There's something deeper there. On the surface, I was like, boy, just let it go. Like,
Thank you, Brandon.
I mean, I know it's a different experience for everybody, but I am the type of person that I can cut you.
Yeah.
And hold no. Maybe I need to see therapy, but
Yeah.
I can literally just not talk to you for forever, and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Even if and especially in this type of situation, because it's like, it's obvious. I mean, maybe it's just stuff we don't know, because he dedicated the movie to his mom. So there was obviously a relationship there.
Yes, absolutely. And you can even tell it just how she, because she loves her son. You can tell that. You can, even in the first scene when he comes over to get his birth certificate, you can tell that there's love there.
Yeah.
She just like a lot of parents don't know how to operate knowing that their kid is something outside of what they expected them to be, or it wanted them to be. Because if you remember, she says to him, but what about what I want?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, what do you mean about what you want?
Right.
What do you mean? What about what you want? You want him to be straight? Well, that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Next subject, please.
So it's just like, I feel like parents have to let go of this image of their child that they see, because at the end of the day, it's just a made-up image that you made of your child. You don't know what your child is going to do or be.
That's exactly what I wrote down. I wrote parents living. Well, who knows?
Listen.
I don't know. Raising their ideal child was the moral of it. And I can understand that you do have a idea of what you want your child's life to be or who you want them to become. But at the same time, you are raising you're not raising a child. You're raising someone that will become an adult. You're raising an adult in the making.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with that comes free reign. And with that comes a individualized personality. So that really hurt me. It was really hard to get past the mom and her idea of what her son was supposed to be versus who he actually was. And it was like, to say you still love him, I had a hard time with that, because a large part of who your son is who he loves.
Yeah.
And so for you to say, I'm not with that, or I'm never going to love that aspect of you, it was kind of like, kick rocks for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easier for others to say that than someone else, because I just feel like I understand her saying that, I will always love you, but I don't love what you are. I can understand her saying that. I don't agree. I don't agree. I can understand. I kind of know what she's saying, because you can't love something that you don't understand, and she just does not understand her son being gay. I don't really fault anyone for not understanding if you're not gay. It's not for you to understand.
Yeah.
It's not for you to understand. But just love me.
Right.
I feel like didn't just transform overnight. This is the same little boy that you raised.
Right.
This is nothing about him became brand new.
Exactly.
I think parents feel like they failed when your child
it's so
comes
crazy
out.
that you said that, because my dad, I heard someone say that, and me and my dad, we was having a conversation, and I was like, well, I don't understand why parents always say I failed when their child is gay. It doesn't make sense. What did you fail at? Is the goal for you to raise a heterosexual child?
Right.
Is that the goal? Because what are you failing at?
Right.
And when else does a parent say that? Not when their child loses a job, not when their child drops out of college, not when their child has a child out of wedlock. I mean, why is the threshold for being gay so much higher than anything else that's a disappointment?
Right.
Like, it's crazy. Me and my mom, we have a wonderful relationship, but I've actually heard her, in my 30s, I've heard her say, like, how did you, my brother is LGBTQ too, so, and like, how did y'all end up like that? And, we raised y'all the right way. And that my mom, she adores us. But, that's always been a question in her mind. Like, how did y'all end up like this? Because there's all these thoughts of being gay, and that it is something that happens as a result, or it's a choice, or it's something that you can help, or you can be trained out of being, all those things. And
we always been gay. We just
Always
tried not to
been
be.
It's like being poor or being rich.
Right.
Who the fuck would opt to be poor?
Right.
Nobody.
Nobody.
No one would opt to be gay.
I think I'm going to go behind the dumpster and get a hamburger.
Right.
That's just how I woke up today. I'm feeling the
Oh, we brought a
hamburger from
hamburger.
out the
Somebody took a bite
trash.
out of it, threw it away. It must have been made wrong. Like, nobody does that.
No.
And
Never.
so, my question, I don't really have an answer to it. because I'm just sitting there looking at her and I'm just kind of like, why can't you just accept it? Because there's so many things. One of the most powerful parts of this movie was when he said, I can die on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I could die on the streets or I can die in this uniform and be a hero. And he had tears in his eyes. And the guy got up and just was like, he accepted it. He was like, okay. Because
that's all he needed to hear.
That's all he needed to hear. And even when he was like, my mom's not talking to me, he started crying or whatever. The guy was, he was listening to this, and I'm sure he's heard this story or stories similar to this. It could have been the dad. It could have been anything. He heard it. And I don't really know much about the military, but what I do know is that different people do different things. And so you do have those assholes that are like, give me 50 push-ups. And then every now and again, you have someone else that comes at you another way psychologically. They break your body down. Then you have someone that comes to break your mind down. And I feel like he was that time, not to break it down, but to build it up, to be strong enough to where when they break your body down, you still have that will and that strength to go on.
Yeah.
And but that goes back to what I said a minute ago, like the whole, that's what parents do. That's what, moms do.
He found what he lacked in parents in this experience.
He did. And structure too. Because like sleeping in the subway and whatever else he was doing, I just really feel like, first of all, this movie had me on the edge of my seat, and I wasn't prepared for this movie. And the whole time I was sitting there, it was like, I can't believe this happened to a person. Real parts and fake parts. Like, I can't believe that they endured it. They sat there through it, and these things happened. And it wasn't because he was black. It wasn't because of this, that. It was because he was effeminate.
As a black gay man, I can believe it. As a black gay man, I can believe. Yes, I can believe it. There was not one moment that I was like, I can't believe this is happening to, a person. I didn't think that. The only thought I had was, how often does this happen? To people like us, who just want to live our lives, love who we love, but have to deal with everyone else's insecurities, everyone else's ignorance, have to deal with everyone else's shit when it comes to sexuality, their lack of knowledge concerning
everything,
sexuality, all of that. It happens too often for me to be shocked.
And the statistics, 15 years ago, I read a statistic that said that 1 in 6 men, and that was like a long time ago. So now, it's got to be more than that.
Back then, 1 in 6 men was gay or had done something?
No, that 1 in 6 men were either LGBTQ, they were on the spectrum of LGBTQIA+. And so, like, it's 2023.
Right.
So I'm like, and this movie was made in 2022. So I'm like,
and depicting
how many of them were sitting in there? How many was sitting in there watching all this going on?
And can't be mean next.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Right.
I'm gonna root them on, whatever.
Being that you said that, the quote I wrote down: "If we got rid of every gay man in the military, there would be no military."
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what. Yes.
Yikes.
Because it's crazy
I just thought about something else.
to think that we've evolved so much as a people to where there's so many breakthroughs in science, but when it comes to the fact that queer people exist, it's like people cannot wrap their minds around that. It's not, and when they say the gay agenda, it's like you're perpetuating a narrative that gay people just started popping up, that we just woke up one day and we were gay, or seeing something on television and was like, oh, I'm gay now. No, that's not how that worked. We've been here. We've been here It's not something new.
Since the beginning of
We
time.
came out of the womb this way.
Right.
I don't know if there's studies about it. Like, I was definitely born this way. I like, there's no doubt
As far
about it.
back
To
as
me.
I can go, I
Yeah.
can remember being gay.
Yeah, I mean,
I used to have action figures, and I used to like take like Wolverine and Spider-Man, and I would like make them kiss and hold each other because I didn't know what sex was, like 10,
Right.
11 years old. But then when I got about like 13, 14, and I knew a couple of things, like, you know, the action figures were gone because my parents threw them out. They literally threw them out. But
Which is another traumatic time
Right.
as a child. When you lose your toys, it's like,
yeah,
you're too old for these.
right? Like, who said that?
Because I didn't have, like, you know, Storm and Wolverine kissing, and I always had Spider-Man and whoever else.
And he left them in the positions.
And I would, yeah,
And they
I would leave them in positions, and they would be like kissing or holding each other like this. And I'm like, oh shit!
Oh my gosh.
And like, what is this?
telling on himself.
Right. Telling me this
And my
song.
daddy come in the room with, somebody got a problem.
Oh.
Somebody in this house got a problem. But
In my 30s, I would say, pray for me.
I mean, but that, I mean, with now, like, I was just with my family, and I brought Brandon up like several times. I was like, well, me and Brandon, you know, we do this, or I got to get going. You know, Brandon has this going on, or da 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 da. And it's just like, oh, okay, tell Brandon we said hey, we said all it, because I mean,
Eventually you accept it.
eventually you accept it, and I do believe that part of the hoorah, that was their way of
Exactly.
saying
Yeah.
we accept him.
He's
Yeah.
one of us.
He's one of us.
Mhm.
Get over it.
Yep. That's exactly what that was.
I mean, not saying that they didn't accept him, but they took his ass
Right.
through.
Yes, because the mother said she tried to out him to
This
the
boy
head
is gayer
honcho.
than two left shoes.
Yep.
Okay, and I'm sure they know this.
Okay,
Yeah.
They can see
And-
him just like you can.
just that little comment alone could have been enough to really rock his world. That could have
Right.
really been enough to get him kicked out because people
Right.
have been kicked out for far lesser.
Mhm.
So the fact that they all rallied around and he heard that and he knew what time it was, he knew about that boy situation, and was unfazed by it. Well, was really spoke volumes and really
Yeah.
made me look at him like an even more mystery. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
who are you?
And the whole with the crew, you know, standing up for him and that moment with the mother, I feel like that did something for her too, because when you see that other people are willing to go
To a place that you're not.
right, to really stand up for
Jeez.
your child, something that you have not been able to do, it does something to you.
Mhm.
So that's why I feel like she was able to say, even though it's not the greatest thing to say to your child, but when she was able to say to him, I will always love you. Even though she said that I won't love what you are, that's how she felt in that moment. But for her to even be able to have that moment with him,
Mm-hmm.
that was evidence of what happened in that room. Her seeing that, okay, they're standing up for him. Something got to change. Something got to happen.
I will always love you versus I will never give up on us.
Mm-hmm.
It points whoever received those statements
Mm-hmm.
to where the problem is.
Yeah.
So the problem is not that you don't love me. The problem is not that I don't love you.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say I'm not going to give up on us, well, why? You know, it comes back to that situation.
Yeah.
And so he always pointed her back to that. It always came back to that.
Yeah.
And I really feel like just even seeing that scene and how emotional she was and how proud she was, and it was like she was a different person.
Yeah.
When she was
Yeah.
standing outside
She had a
and
glow.
she saw
Yeah.
her, she had a glow.
Yeah.
We didn't see no shade, but I didn't even notice the eczema or whatever that was. No shade to nobody. Not eczema. What was it?
There was like some
acne
freighters.
scars.
I like acne scars.
The,
Yeah. She lived a rough life, child.
yeah, she lived a
life.
rough life. I saw those hit that she had the prison braids going to the back.
Oh, Lord.
And I said,
I would have said, till you do right by me, baby.
Everything you do. What's
Every freckle on your face gonna crumble. No.
There was not freckles.
Those
I don't
were
know
not.
what they
She
were.
wished the face was freckles.
I don't know what they
Every
were.
smooth spot on your face gonna cave in.
smooth spot on your face. Girl. She had a creme brulee. You ever had creme brulee?
Stop it.
Okay. I'm sorry, my bad. Babe.
Stop
Sorry.
it.
So overall, opinions on the movie. Would you watch it again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely
I would
what
definitely
watch it.
watch it
Absolutely.
again.
Like maybe like on
Not
a
not
day
immediately, but
Not
you
yet.
know.
Oh, I'll watch it tomorrow.
But I
by
would
myself.
definitely watch it
There were
again.
parts like I wanted to cry, and I was like, I'm not gonna cry in front of these fools. But I was like, I'm gonna cry.
Stop it.
No, this gave me a rallying movie. When they said, all right, guys, grab your pitchforks and your flags and we about to hit the streets.
You know
all
what?
right, I'm watching my movie. I'm ready. I'm going to be queued up.
Yes. It made
Because
me
we
like,
tied up.
It made me like, ooh, like realize how strong I am as a
Yeah.
person because we've all. I feel like, first of all, being black, then
Wow.
second of all, being black and
And
gay,
gay.
and then working or living in a world where you are discriminated against because of both, and then people don't always see it. They don't want to talk. It's such a taboo subject.
Right.
It's like you have to be strong. You have to be.
You
the
have
best.
to be
He
strong.
beat everybody on that track.
Yeah.
He
Smoked him.
lifted he did the most pull-ups, and then he endured the most because the people that were supposed to be working along with you
Mhm.
were actually working against you to put on the appearance of
Yes.
your failure and shortcomings.
Yeah.
At the end, we saw him pulling people up over the wall
Right.
and helping other people, the same people that were trying to sabotage him. It reminded me a lot of my life, but that's all I'll say. But I really appreciate this movie. Now, I do want to. I don't know if you have another subject, but I do want to go to. I wish they would have got it in that shower.
There was definitely a sex scene or two lacking in the movie.
That.
So,
But
What?
the movie was kind of
Why all the gays want to have a sex scene? It don't got to be a
I
sex
wanted him
scene.
to have.
So,
I wanted
would-
him to
I say
have.
I
a
enjoyed it.
connection.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it
With
for what it
somebody.
was because I feel like what they actually had was he got something more than just a sex out
Yes.
of the relationship with that commanding officer.
True.
He got somebody that respected him, and he got somebody that he felt like cared about him in
Right.
a deeper way than just getting
Right.
it in.
I understand that.
Because
But
if he was,
I get what y'all saying.
if he was just having sex with the guy, it would have just been like, you're trying to fulfill something through sex that
true.
you can get in a healthier way, because obviously this experience for you is very traumatic, and if you're just going around just having sex with the first person who is nice to you,
Right.
it's going to take away from the overall experience. And I think that he
would have
learned
been
more.
the first person we've seen, because from what we saw, he had a very lonely existence. He had a mother that didn't give a crap about
He
him.
lived-
In
where
my
was he
book,
at? He was
didn't
in the
give a
subway.
crap.
In the subway.
Was
Yeah.
homeless,
Yeah.
living by himself
Yeah.
for upwards of a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a
Probably never-
human connection that we wanted him to have, and the best way, I think, to personify that
He
would have been
probably
through
never had
a
that
little-
experience.
Not always.
So that
Not
probably
Hanky
always.
panky.
was it, too.
Yeah.
Not always.
I just thought that little shower scene, the little hanky panky, because we always sit here like, is the officer, the
So-
commanding officer, does he?
I was praying that he
is on the
didn't.
track?
I was hoping that he did not.
So the fact that so here's what could have satisfied y'all's need
Mhm.
if the dream sequence, if they actually would have did something.
Came to
But even though it
fruition.
wasn't actually happening, maybe if you got to see his imagination take it all the way there, then maybe that would have satisfied your need. But but I'm with you, Ray, on that. Like I think that he got more. out of
I'm good without the sex scene.
I just would have been happy if, at the end, if he would have found somebody, settled down, we're...
Yeah,
I'm
give
a Disney
it-
girl. I need a
What about
happy
the Middle
ending.
East-
Aw.
Like the guy, he was Middle Eastern. What if that would have been a dynamic? Like
That's
in the
a whole
bathroom?
part two.
That's a whole part two to me.
I'm telling you, because you know the other boys' family is not having it.
Like the writers could go real crazy.
I appreciated that for what it was too.
They want a love story, and this is not a love story kind of movie.
I know, but listen, I appreciated that for what it was because it showed him that a straight, well, I don't know if he's straight or not, but presented the way he was, straight man, he could hug him.
Right.
And it didn't mean anything other than I can be here for you and you can be here for me.
Those small lessons, those small moments. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
and ally is a huge category, and I feel like we often try to slice them
because he was there for several people. I feel like he was there for the officer who was arguing. I think it was with his wife. He was there for the Middle Eastern guy, and it wasn't sexual. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like the reality of it.
I thought it was going to go there with those dream
in the military. They're
sequences.
going to tell you, especially LGBT, like, you know, they're going to tell you, like, yeah, it happened or whatever.
Lots of lonely nights. I mean,
and then it was what it was. It was what it was, and that was it.
I do feel like them not having a sex scene in this movie was strategic for them, because I feel like the message that they wanted to get across would not have came across as clear if they would have had him being sexually intimate with any of these people in his crew. So I do feel like it was strategic for them not to have that.
It would have. I feel like it would have compromised the integrity of the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
And looking at all the awards, y'all got to go look it up. It's literally lists. It's a list of for this one movie, and
because there's so many moments.
They won like 5 or 6 or something awards.
I believe it.
And him the
Jeremy
lead,
Vogt.
yes, he won. I think it was like 3 or 4 awards. I was like, wow. You know, I didn't even know about this movie, but I'm stoked at it. But I mean, you know, I think that's just the movies I watch are like mainly meathead movies.
Yeah.
So like if I watched the equivalent to like what I usually watch, they probably would like have gotten it in or something, and they would have made that a dynamic. And then of course, like I said, it would have took away from the message. But I do appreciate like you said, I appreciate the fact that they stayed true to the message. Still would have been hot though.
Well, in true gay fashion, we're ending on desiring more sex.
I'm screaming.
So, if you haven't had a chance to check out the movie, I think it's been made well known that at this point that you should definitely check it out. Yes. It's an A24 movie, so if you're supporting the strike right now, you can definitely check it out with no guilt. No guilt.
None.
All right, if you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you share it with your friends. Let us know what you think. You can message me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whichever method that you use. I'll see y'all on the next episode.